Hey folks, so for my video, the first paper computer game ever made, there were clips of Chris being interviewed. I said in that video I would release the full interview with Chris as a separate video. This is that video. That's all this video is. It's just a really long interview with Chris. We are going to get into not only the first paper computer game ever made, but the rest of Chris's original series of paper computer games. The conversation just kind of wanders, and we get into how Zoovac was created. I find out things I didn't even remember, and we learn how, Chris's side of that original series of paper computer games, how that was developed, what his thought process was like. It's a really fascinating conversation. So yeah, hope you'll join me for it. Let's do this. Yeah, so the first paper computer game ever made, as you may or may not know, that was made by you. And
wouldn't it be insane if I didn't know that? I'm like, what?
So, I thought we could talk about what we remember about that a little bit. I would start with, what I remember, but I mean, you were the one who first started making it. So do you remember anything of how you created it, before you played it with me? Or anything about the thought process that led to creating it or whatever?
Well, this is where this interview is going to be proved to be pretty boring because I don't remember much at all. Let's see. Let me think if I can go back. Because I remember at least feeling like I worked on it for a very long time. But I don't know if I actually worked on it for a long amount of time or if it was a kid long amount of time,
Right.
But I felt because I knew I was going to see you on, I don't know, whatever it was, a Tuesday or something. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was a few days before then. And I had this idea, or I'd wanted to make a game. I think we were probably, well, now I'm getting mixed up, but we had been playing point and click adventure games at that point.
Yeah, definitely. Indiana Jones, Hugo, and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, and I feel Hugo might have been even more top of mind at that point because Indiana Jones, I don't even know if I had it yet. I didn't have it. I never had Fate of Atlantis. I had The Last Crusade because I didn't have a CD-ROM for a while.
That's right. I forgot that.
Although Fate of Atlantis was on diskette, but they stopped selling it at that point. They did it the whole, the CD-ROM had the voice actors and the discs didn't. But I don't think they were selling it, and my computer, I don't know, my parents, thought of our home computer as a long-term investment, which was, not a good idea in, the 90s .com boom when, the computers were obsolete in, 24 hours. So the computer was just, a struggle for a long time. But anyway, so yeah, I guess, let's go back even further. How old were we? I always thought of it as that we were 5, but that couldn't have been right. That's way too young.
Yeah, I have no idea. Sorry?
I think I got that 5 number in my head because my mom came up with it, and I think she's wrong.
Right. Yeah, that is a little young to be making PCGs.
Yeah, and it's too young for me to have had a computer.
Yeah.
Which, if any, everyone watching this or most people watching this are quite a bit younger. That was a thing that used to happen.
Yeah.
That you didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
Anyway. Right. So, okay. So but you had a computer much before we did.
Yeah. I remember my first computer was my Apple IIc. I had
Yes.
that for a while, so that probably would have been like around the 5-6-ish range. Then
Yeah, I remember going and playing adventure games on that Apple II
yeah,
at your place, and we didn't know how to play them, and we would just die.
yeah. So I finally got a PC one day, and I was super excited. I think it was my uncle's, and it was a hand-me-down. And like,
It's an IBM, right?
yeah. Because like back in those days, that's what a PC was. It was PC meant IBM, and then later
Did mean IBM at that point. It would be IBM hardware, and you would talk about it was an IBM. Like you would talk about the hardware. It wasn't the software that you would talk about like a Windows machine. It was just like, no, I have an IBM.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I had an IBM compatible. It was a clone. It was a knockoff. It was, yeah.
I mean, I guess now it's all IBM compatibles, technically.
Almost. Well, sort of. All desktop machines. Now I'm going to nerd out for a second, but pretty much everything is an IBM compatible that is a desktop machine. But any phone, any like system on a chip, anything like that, like basically lower power devices, and pretty soon it's going to start to cross over into desktops as well. They're all a completely different architecture.
What about like Macs?
Macs now, since the like 2000, I forget when. I wanted to say 2006, so I'll go with that. But they've all been Intel based. They used to be PowerPC based, which is a different chipset, which is like just a different family. I think the Nintendo 64 was also PowerPC. There's a bunch of gaming things that use PowerPC hardware. Anyway.
Wow, fascinating.
Regardless, things. But anyway, yeah, for the most part, like the x86 Intel chipset ruled the world until ARM came along and completely ate their lunch.
Okay, so all of this to get to the point that I don't know, probably like 7, 8.
Yeah, I think 7. I'm gonna go with 7 because I got my first computer when I was 7, and I felt like that was at the point, and that, let's just put that in context. Okay, 7. So if I was 7, you'd be 8. So that would be around 93. 93, 92.
Yeah, sounds about right. Because in 90 I was 5, so in 93 I would be 7. No, 8. But if you were 7, I'd be 8. So that makes sense.
Yeah, around 93, 94 maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, still a lot of adventure games that are, like it's a high point for that. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like maybe the tail end of it. So I was thinking about it. I can't remember what I was thinking of, if I was thinking of Indiana Jones. But that really did take over. That was like huge. Mm-hmm. But I know I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about Hugo, and I think I just, I wanted to make a game really bad. There had been other games that I had made. I forget if this was before or after, but it was I was trying to make, like, I just wanted to make a game. I think that was like the driving point, and it wasn't that I wanted to make a game on paper, it was that I wanted to make a game.
Right.
And I didn't know how to program, and I had a really unrealistic notion of how hard that would be. AKA, I thought it would be really easy. And then I started to, like, I think my dad had a book, DOS for Dummies. I didn't even know enough to know that, like, that wasn't how you would make a game. Like, you'd have to figure out. I had nothing. I had no kind of concept. But I started looking at DOS for Dummies, and I was, like, just completely, like, just, like, overwhelmed and not knowing how to. So, like, I went from, like, oh, this is going to be pretty easy to, like, this is out to get me. And, like, I couldn't figure out how to get from, like, the weird, like, arcane stuff that, like, DOS for Dummies was talking about to how you would actually get a game. And it is, like, kind of insane. Like, making a computer game is such a far jump from, like, what a computer does, you know,
Yeah.
like it's really this hat trick. But anyway, so that was like overwhelming. I couldn't figure it out. So I wanted to just make a game. So I had these ideas. So I just did the only thing I could think of, which was to put it on paper. And I was doing it in the style of Indiana Jones or Hugo or any of those games. Yeah, along with the cheap deaths. And just like you have to die and come back over and over again and try to figure it out. The puzzles, like all those adventure games, were really brutally hard, and you would die all the time. You have to reload your save, and that's how like save game came about. Is because, and this is how a lot of that stuff came about, was because like I just didn't know how to read or spell or anything, and I was just like maybe a little dyslexic, I don't know, but like I just forgot that it should have been load game.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to save your game
like...
and then load a game, and like that was how it was supposed to be. But like save game just sounded better in my head, and I just like went with it for a while until you pointed that out, and then I didn't want to like admit that I was wrong, so I just doubled down on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Save game.
I was like, no, really, this is what load game is. You're like, no.
Yeah, no. No, yeah, no, this is different. Like I started making it all different stuff. Same thing with like inventory. Mm-hmm. Like I used to put like your inventory screen, like it was a piece of paper, you know, draw in the inventory on it when you would pick up things. And instead of an I for inventory, I wrote E.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think I was just like, no, it's inventory. I don't know, whatever. I just tried to.
Inventory.
Yeah, I think you pronounced it inventory. And, but yeah, I don't know. I think it was. I forget why I decided to do it as like it is kind of interesting that I decided to, like, the story I was gonna tell was just like you as yourself, like in a heightened version of the real world, or like basically in locations that I knew of. And I think part of that was that it was like, oh, I'm gonna personalize this. I'm gonna make this something that you can't get somewhere else. Like it's gonna be, you know, my own thing.
You remember having that thought, like you were consciously thinking about that, or is that sort of like subconscious motivations that you were, you know, interpreting?
Yeah, I don't think I was conscious about it, but like it was something that like I guess I was like toying with. I don't know. I think part of it too was that, like, especially at that time, like there was a lot of like movie tie-in games and or other games that would like take like a scenario and like make everything like a game element. So like I don't know, like for a movie tie-in, let's say, and the movie is like about, maybe it's like a comedy, and it's about like, it's like a workplace comedy, and you go through the office. In the movie, you know, the guy goes to the office, he has like interactions with his co-workers, and you know, he goes home, whatever. And like, you know, the movie isn't really about the locations, it's about the comedy and the interactions. But they make a video game about it, and now they have to make a game, and they're kind of lazy, but like they would just inexplicably make, like, I don't know, the copier like shoots deadly paper at you, and you have to like jump over it, and like there's a dog that's like everywhere in the office for some reason, and like people throwing staplers at you. I don't know, like everything's hostile and like trying to kill you. And so I think I like just absorbed that as a norm of games and just applied that to that first game. So like I was just kind of looking around my house where I grew up, and so that's where you started. Like I didn't put you in your house, I put you in my house. And then, you know, you go to our next door neighbor and like his dog and stuff, and you know, they're both very nice people, and like they were like actually like a kind of a second family to me, but like in the game they're trying to kill you.
And your family was trying to kill me too, right? Because like
everyone's trying to kill you.
Yeah. Because like I don't know if this is a false memory or not, but I remember like there was a backstory to it. Like when you first sat me down, you're like, okay, here's how this starts. You come to my house and you're gonna hang out with me, but then, my parents are like trying to kill you and they chase you up the stairs and all like, and you lock yourself in the bathroom, and like I seem to remember like, wait, that doesn't make sense because like your upstairs bathroom didn't have a lock. But then
it didn't have a lock. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I just So yeah, what were we talking about?
The backstory, I think.
Oh yeah, because I feel like because of those games that kind of just they never explained why everyone was attacking you or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just like had that baked in. And again, this may be like you're saying like a false memory, but in my memory, it was that like I just assumed that you would take that for granted that everyone's out to kill you and that's it. But like you wanted to know why, and like it kind of forced me to come up with some semblance of a story, and I think it was something about like some noxious gas or some some mind-altering thing.
Yeah.
If serves, but something about that, and but I don't think I had that coming in. Like I just was like, no, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I think, and it was. And I think it ended up, it started out here, right? But like it ended up in a castle for some reason. Like you got to a castle and you had to go in there. Like that was big into castles.
Yeah. I remember that castle. I remember that. Like I think I had to take this stream to get there or something. Because like I remember like, okay, my memory of the course of the game, right, was that you start out in your bathroom, but you have to come outside. So like the first screen was like looking at your house from the outside, and there's like an apple tree next to it for some reason, and I had to like get outside onto the apple tree, and then from there I had to climb down and go hide in your like in your garage, or like the neighbor's garage or something. But then like then the neighbor is hostile. And
that sounds about right. Like you're in the neighbor's garage, and then the neighbor and the dog come after you, and you have to get around them.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I think he had a boat.
Right, he had a boat,
like
and somehow there was water in this area.
There's like a stream behind his garage for some reason.
Right, there's just like magical geographical changes. Like in reality, there is no stream behind my neighbor's house. There's no stream anywhere near the house I grew up. For several miles at least. But
so I think it was that stream that led to the castle, if I'm remembering correctly.
Right, and then you had to like get inside, like you were outside the castle walls, and you had to like get inside somehow, like grappling hook in or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guard, and I don't remember anything after that, actually. I don't know.
The only thing I remember, like, I mean, I don't really remember much about getting inside the castle. I do remember, unless I'm mixing it up with memories of later PCGs, I'm not sure, but, like, I do remember that, like, at the end of the castle, like, once I'd beaten most of the castle, like, the last room was, like, I think it was, like, Colette and Ari in cages. And And, the three of us, we had to drop down, and we dropped down into the sewers, and that was the transition into the second game.
Right, you dropped into the sewers, so I had a cliffhanger built in. Yeah. And you're so you drop into the sewers, and then it was like, all right, well that's I don't even know why I didn't. I think I had enough time to do the whole sewer part, I'm sure. But I felt like, no, this is the second release. This is the sewers. That's part 2, obviously. There was some like designation between the two.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was also another trope. Like there was always a sewer level.
That's true.
And they were horrible. I don't know why I wanted to replicate that. The sewer levels were always the worst. Like the most unfun, horrible, like things coming out of nowhere. You couldn't see anything. You know, it's the 90s, so the textures were all muddy. Everything was like dark and like things seemed cheap shot you. It was horrible.
Yeah, but the PCG version was awesome. Like, I mean, I don't remember much about it, but I remember enjoying it. Like I remember I feel like I found out more about what was going on. Like, I don't know if that was when I found out about the company. Might have been a few more PCGs, but like I do remember like feeling like I found out more about what was going on in the second game. And definitely, for sure, I remember the beginning of the first game because, number one, like, I tried super hard to get back into the castle. I was like, can I go back up that opening to where the cat? You're like, no, that just goes to the previous game. And I'm like, yeah, but can I go there though? Like,
yeah,
no.
you wanted to go back in. I remember you spent like a half an hour doing this, and I got really mad. I was like, no, you have to go forward. You can't go back.
Oh god, I was such a jerk.
I was like so angry. I would get really mad. Like I would get like really invested and like very like I wanted people to play my games very specifically. like I basically my perfect player had no agency. Like they just did exactly what I was thinking of.
Hell yeah. But I mean, like, you know, they definitely didn't have to be me. Like in the first game too, I remember I spent like half an hour trying to talk to your neighbor, and there was no way to talk to him. Like clearly he was just hostile no matter what. But I kept like trying to say different things. Like if I could just try the right
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Well, that's what you would do in regular computer games as well. Like you would try to, you know, find every like it was like as if someone had programmed this magical thing in there that would respond to, you know, some impossible iteration of phrasing. But yeah, I think I do remember that. You're talking to my neighbor. And honestly, like if that were like a real situation, like obviously it would be like attacking you, but like, yeah, like, and then as games went on, like, I think I responded more to the fact that you were more verbal and wanted to talk to people. I was still resistant because I was like an asshole and wanted to do what I wanted to do. But like, yeah, there was that like kind of tension between how you wanted to talk to everyone and I wanted everyone to kill you. Like, I don't know, but like it did flesh out the world more. Like I don't think it happened with my neighbor. Like I think it was like a battle of wills almost. But like eventually, like I think even in the second game, there was friendly characters in the sense of Colette and Ari. Yeah. So you're talking to them, so then they have to talk to you, and so you had conversations with them, and that kind of fleshed out the world a little bit.
Yeah, and Laura. I remember I met Laura in the second game too. Like that was.
Oh, that's right. She was in the sewers already.
Yeah. I guess that's just where she hangs
maybe
out.
Maybe a window into where I thought my sister lived. Yeah, you were in the sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like some larger plot. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I know that like later on in the PCG series, I would find out that, you know, everything that had happened is somehow tied to the company. Like all these random dudes I'd been fighting, they were part of the company. But was that like did you have that some kind of a conception of that from the beginning, or is that like a later retcon?
Yeah, no, I had no concept of that, not at all. I think I don't know that I had any overarching narrative thought. I just had like set pieces that I had in my head that I wanted to show, and that there was like a very narrow plot of whatever I conceived of at that time. Like, okay, there's this person being held there and this kind of thing happening. And it was more just like additive as things went on. I think like really it was the rich kid that like kind of sealed that. And I kind of wonder where that kind of thing came from. Like, it's a very... I definitely had strong opinions of the elite at a very young age. I was very like, a rich kid, you know. And I wonder where, I don't know, like we knew some rich kids. I wonder if I was like,
did we?
Yeah, screw those guys. Well, definitely people who were like farther up the economic scale.
Yeah,
for sure. Not like, you know, Batman rich, but.
Right.
I don't know. I can't quite trace that, but I think I was also like, honestly, I think I was trying to make like there was always this tension that like, you know, there was all this story and narrative that was kind of spooling out, but I think some part of me, or like a large part of me, always wanted to make an action game. Like I always want, which is like impossible on paper, but like I was always like trying to make it an action game, you know? Like basically like a lot of the puzzles were just like beating up bad guys, and you had to figure out the right pattern of who to attack and how to win the puzzle of the fight. You know? Kind of Power Rangers like kind of thing where you beat up these guys in this order and that kind of thing. And that was actually reminding me of like another thing. This is the thing I was getting to earlier about like whether it was before or after, but I had made an attempt at an action game. I don't even know if you've ever played it, but this might have been pre-PCG. But I made it on paper, and it had frames of a character in different poses. It was like an action game, so it was like him walking like in two different poses, and like punching and kicking and jumping.
Dude.
And you know, there was, I don't even know if I definitely didn't finish it actually. I can say that with conviction, but I drew a bunch of these things, and I was gonna do like frames and stuff, and my plan, my harebrained scheme for making this a game was I was going to use my dad's slide projector. And then, you know, you would advance the slide or unadvance the slide based on the frame of animation. I mean, like, it's an insane thing. Like, it's a mechanical, manual thing, a slide projector. It manually has an arm that, like, changes over the slide. And there's like, you know, in terms of game animation time, a long time. It's like good chunk. Like that's the entire transition, like from one frame to the next. So it was like, it was insane. Like I don't know how I was gonna plan on doing this. And like I wanted to make a platformer basically, or like a you know, like a beat 'em up side scroller type of thing. Yeah, I don't know if you ever played that. It definitely wasn't. I don't think it was playable.
Yeah, I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Yeah, it was like a failed concept, I think. Again, I don't know where in that history that was before or after, but like, yeah, just like kind of definitely just a window into like where my head was at that point.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, come to think of it, I like that, like. It sounds almost like Zoovac is sort of like the embodiment of this tension between you wanting everything to be hostile and me wanting everything to be talkable, because Zoovac was both.
Yeah.
Like he was programmed to work for the company, so he was hostile, but like he was also friendly somehow. Like he wanted to be good, but he couldn't. Yeah,
right. And that was a few PCGs in, I think. Yeah. I don't know how many. Maybe it would. My gut is telling me 4, but I think I made a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like I would just like crank them out. I don't know. I would just like draw stuff, and like I think the rich kid came might have came before Zoovac.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because Zoovac was a character of accident. Because like my conception of him was like, and it was in another action scene. It was like one of these screens, and I would like repeat myself a lot. Like I would just like have like tropes that I would use to basically set pieces. I'd have like set pieces to kind of string together with different cosmetics, and I would sometimes innovate and like come up with new things, but I'd be cranking these things out. So like really I'd be just like using the same set pieces with different particulars. Like, okay, here's the karate one, here's the one where you're, you know, in space, here's the, well, it has several of those, here's the, you know, this one, you know, like anything that was exciting me at that time, I would just like pump into these like kind of set pieces. So like there's like an action scene, it's pretty generic too, where it's like a side view with like ramps going up, like almost like the Donkey Kong level. I think it was kind of inspired by that, like where it's like a ladder going up, and then you go to the next side, and then you ladder going up again, and another beam. And there's just like guys, like stick figures, who are there, and you have to fight them in different orders and whatnot. But I think there was like a trick to it, and basically I was just like kind of ripping off and like kind of pulling from games that I was playing. I think Zoovac was in some ways inspired by Mario.
By Mario?
Yes. Specifically Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
Yoshi's Island?
Yes, and listen, this is very specific. Actually, the first Mario World had it as well, but Yoshi's Island had it more. And it was like those little speaker box, like blocks. So when you would hit that, it would give you like a little help text, and like give you like a little like hint about the world, or like a little tutorial or something like that. And so basically, Zoovac was my attempt at doing that. It was like just again, like this was just like me ripping off things and like not. I think also like I never like let myself like be fully like let it be as like fully immersive, or like be. Basically, at that point, I didn't want paper computer games to be themselves. Like my ultimate goal was that to be like the most perfect perfect computer game. But like I didn't have the skill or abilities or patience or anything to do that, and nor but like I just like like back to that tension. Like I was never satisfied with the medium itself. I didn't want it to be that. Like, I wanted it to be like this grand thing I had in my head. But like, so I think part of that was like me trying to make like the quote unquote perfect game that was happening, and it wasn't, which like kind of made it difficult for it to like actually lean into the strengths of what that medium had. So, but like the Zoovac thing was that like I was just trying to make like a speaker box, basically, just like a tutorial thing. And I have no idea why I decided to draw a clown on a stick. And my guess is that I didn't. Like it was an accident, is that I was a bad artist, or it was like just a rough thing, and I was trying to make like a helpful thing, like basically like a robot of some kind. Like I drew a stick figure, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a tutorial thing, right? So I'm drawing a stick figure, and okay, well, I don't want him to help Zach, really. He's gonna, he's gonna talk to him, and that's it. And I have to make sure that Zach doesn't recruit him to help him fight these guys. I know he won't have legs, so like he's just gonna be like I don't know. So like in the stick figure art, I just like made him a tripod. And then why he's a clown, that's I have no idea. I really don't know why he's a clown. I don't know if he was supposed to be that. See, this again, my guess is that I drew something, and now I don't remember what it was. But like some sort of something, and then you're like, why is there a clown on a stick? And I decided to double down on, like, what do you mean, why is there a clown on a stick? Of course there's a clown on a stick. He's talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you probably gave him, like, a big, goofy smile. Like, I seem to have an image of that.
Yeah, I think he... Like, I think it's, like, supposed to be, like, yeah, some sort of, like, robot. Like, that was... I think that's, like, a kind of common science fiction trope where, like, the thing that talks to you, the robot, has, like, this kind of unnatural, like...
Oh, yeah, that's
like,
true.
This grin.
That is very true.
And I think that, like, he was supposed to... I think he was supposed to just give you one hint or something, and then my thought, I would always misinterpret what you were going to do. I thought you were just like, okay, great, thanks for the hint, and you keep going. But, like, you talked to him for hours in my memory.
Hell yeah, in my memory, too. Because
it was basically a gold mine for the player, because it was this... I can't remember if you... No, you didn't. It was just like... The backstory is already filled in, and you find this clown on a stick. And he's like, hey, Zach, I used to be part of the company, but I reprogrammed myself. I don't know, whatever. I
thought it was like... reprogrammed. I thought he was still in the company. Like, I thought in that PCG, I was, like, infiltrating one of their facilities.
Oh, that's right. He was part of the company, but he's like, but I hate them.
Yeah.
You know, somehow.
And I like,
listen, I'm trying to tip you off, and like I'm an insider, and you can help, like, you know. But then you decided, I thought you'd just keep going, but you decided to like try to free Zoovac.
Yeah.
And that you would, you know, do that, and he kind of became, again, like I'm just like pulling from media that I was consuming at the time. He became a Zordon.
I am Zordon, an interdimensional being caught in a time warp.
Type of figure from Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I just made him that.
Although, like, never with that, like, cadence, though. He was never like, Rangers, you know, like... No. He maintained his personality, I felt like. He was still goofy, but it was just like, oh my god, Zach! Like, something crazy's happening. Yeah,
he's really energetic and upbeat for a robotic entity.
Yeah.
And then, like, even later I would do, like, weird things, like, much later, but, like, you know, but still, like, harkening back to that time of, like, Inspector Gadget, where the chief would always disguise himself as different things. And so I pulled from that, and I had Zoovac, which I thought was funny. It was like Zoovac disguised himself as things, but like he's like the most unusual thing ever. No matter what, he's a clown on a stick. It doesn't matter if you put a beard on him. Like he's like he can't. But like I was tickled by the sense that like he thinks he's being completely chameleonish, and he's just blending in. And you know that hat that's changing the world. You know, like
I love that trope. I've used that as well in some PCGs.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, going back to what you were saying, how you never really wanted PCGs to be PCGs. You always just wanted to make a computer game, so PCGs were always sort of like an imperfect version of that. And like, there was a whole era like way later when I guess when we were like young adults or whatever, and like I think you revived PCGs a little bit. Like you made like 1 or 2 games, but then that got me to start making them, and you kind of stopped. But and like I really got into it, and that was when it, like, you know, it became a whole thing. But I remember you weren't really like, you corrected me on the canon. I remember that you were like, you know, I don't see Zoovac in this role. I see Zoovac in that, like, stuff I got wrong in my PCGs. You corrected me, but
I don't remember. I remember seeing you talk about this in a different video, and I don't remember this. And I honestly, to be fair, I don't remember a lot of, not just about PCGs, but about just things in general. Like, I don't know, like feel like at one point, semi-recently, maybe like last year or something, me and Ari and Leela were talking about stuff, and like they were telling me a lot of stuff about my own life that I had no memory of.
Wow.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember correcting you on the canon, but like I do remember, yeah, it was like I called him Mark II, right?
Series 2.
Series 2. I didn't call him Mark. Yeah, this is the problem. I have no memory.
No, because more recently you called it Mark III. That was
really?
Yeah. Because that was when you made Ghosts. Because you were like, well, it's not Series 2 anymore. It's its own thing. And you wrote at the bottom of the cover, PCG Mark III, and you were like, you said not Series 3 because the word changes every time.
Really? I was cognizant of that? Yeah. If so, I feel like it was mostly to piss you off in terms of cataloging. Like, it's... Oh, I'm sure. It's the original
I don't doubt
Series
that.
2 Mark III. It's terrible. Yeah. But that Series 2 thing, I remember making several of those. Maybe it was like 14 or so. And I made... Yeah, what was that first one I made? I forget. I remember the second one had a giant crab in it. Till Time Do Us Part was the first one?
Yeah.
Right, and then I like de-escalated and made a giant crab one on on purple paper.
Yes.
You had to like infiltrate. And then there was like something like some weird specter guy who was like the Shadow from the company, and then I drew
the Nazi machine.
Yeah, I made a Nazi machine. Yeah, that's right. I misspelled Nazi. I remember that.
I remember that too.
But like, actually, the Nazi machine wasn't supposed to be a PCG.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right.
No, I was at your place and I was just drawing something and I wrote the Nazi machine on it. And you're like, "Whoa, is that a game?" And I was like,
Yes, totally.
And then like you're like, "You gotta make that." And then it took me like a year or more to make it.
Yeah, that was super frustrating. Like, also, like, you had made Ginkus's Gift before that, and there was like no transition between them because like you hadn't discovered yet that you could make PCGs with like different characters, so you had to come up with like increasingly contrived ways to like be like, okay, Zach is in the middle of this from the last game, but then just for no reason you just like everything goes white, and then now you're in the 1940s, and like you're
it was like there was all this continuity. I think it was, I don't know where I got that notion, but it was very specific. Like there was something very much ingrained, like to the point where I never questioned it, where it's like you make a PCG and it's like a one and done. You make it for a person, and their avatar in the world is named after them. Yeah. And then that PCG that you played with that person that one time is never played again.
Yeah. It's pretty wasteful, but
it's like game development jazz.
Yeah.
You know, you're just riffing and
pretty much.
You never see it again.
Yeah. But going back a tangent or two, where I was going with bringing up series 2 was I think there was a whole, like, when you stopped with that, like and then you like totally weren't into it for a while, and then I remember one day you kind of said to me like, "Oh, you know, I thought about paper computer games again, and I realized, you know, it's actually kind of cool. It's actually kind of its own thing. You know, it's not like I wasn't seeing it before for what it is, and now I do, and now I can appreciate it. And now that you're saying all this stuff about, you know, how you never wanted to make a paper game, you wanted to make a computer game. Like, I'm wondering if there's a connection with that. It's like because paper computer games were always like you only ever saw them as like an imperfect version of what you wanted to do and couldn't see them, sort of for what they were,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Wait, was there a question there? Because I think...
it was like basically just, would you say that connection is accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was always striving to do something else, like some other thing. Whatever it was that I was doing wasn't the real thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. And yeah, and I can still get that way. I mean, sometimes, it's part of, I think, certain element of ambition is to never really be satisfied with something.
Yeah.
And part of that is a taxonomy of ambition in a certain way of even if whatever I'm doing, even if I progressed a lot in whatever, not just paper computer games, but anything, progressed a lot in that one thing and done more and more stuff, it's for me at least, it'll be well, this class of thing is I could be doing a different class of thing, and not necessarily in terms of class of thing as higher or lower, but just a different thing, a different art form, a different type of expression. So yeah, there's always that, it's maybe it could go bigger or be a different thing, or that's the evolution. I think that's how I can sometimes see things, is the evolution of a thing is a different classification of thing, right? So the evolution of paper computer games is computer games, not different paper computer games. It's
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotcha. A PCG is if you keep improving paper computer games in your mind, eventually they would turn into computer games,
right.
Not into just other computer games. Yeah, that makes sense, because I remember you talking about when I first made Balzac Lobotron, you kept saying oh man, I have so many ideas for how we could turn this into a point and click adventure, which is a cool idea. I don't mean to imply that that's not an invalid thing, but
it is a different thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was it's kind of freeing once you see when I've been able to not impose a different medium's weight on paper computer games.
Yeah.
And that actually applies to everything. So it's you can actually kind of lean into what makes PCGs unique and expressive in their own right, versus burdening them with not only the expectations, but they also, quite frankly, the limitations. Every medium has its limitations, and that's what causes the friction that makes creativity possible. So, lots of times I would burden paper computer games with the limitations of a different medium in attempt to make a perfect, or to try to create in small essence the thing I really wanted to make at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and still in all, you made so many of them. Granted, mainly because I was always hounding you to make them.
Yeah, but I also did have lots. I would just get excited about something, and I would want to the way I would want to express that would be make a game about it. And so and some of the ones, the one that always jumps out in my mind, why did I make a game about this? But I would make games about really random specific things sometimes. But you were a CIA or a kind of some sort of secret agent type thing, and you had to prevent JFK's assassination.
Really?
And there was a big shark. Yeah, you had to and I think I don't think it was a time travel thing. I just like decided JFK was the president and you had to stop him from being assassinated.
Oh man, I have no memory of that. But I mean, there were so many.
And I just knew that he was assassinated. There was no, like, none of the history of it. There was no, like, none of the, like, conspiracy theories. There's no grassy knoll. There was nothing, you know, there was no, like, Lee Harvey Oswald. None of that. It was just, like, you had to save the president, basically.
Hey, I mean, it works.
Yeah. And it was like a James Bond type of thing. Like, there was, like, you were dunked in a shark tank and stuff. Like, it was like a swimming pool with a shark in it. I don't know. I think I was just like, a lot of what I'm thinking about at that time was what I was trying to do, or just like how my brain worked was like, I would just like mash everything that I was thinking of together or like experiencing. So like if I watched a movie or I played a game, and then I went outside and I like saw my neighbors and I went to see my grandfather, like anything that happened, like I would just like smush it into a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that sort of might be part of what made it so engaging, sort of like that kind of dreamlike, you know, quality to it. Like it like you're playing and it almost feels real, but then there's something like so discontinuous, like in the first PCG, you know, you're in the house, you climb outside, and you know there's a feeling of reality to it. And then all of a sudden, there's a random stream behind your house, and it goes to a castle. Like what? Like,
yeah. And you know what? I did have very vivid dreams at the time and nightmares and whatnot. So I think a lot of that would bleed into it. I would basically make dreamscapes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's a good observation.
I hope you realize, though, that now I'm going to have to make a wiki article on JFK and how he was president in the 90s.
Yeah, I think it was JFK. Yeah, or maybe I just said the president, but I'm pretty sure JFK. I made him JFK. And that was like a later Series 1 PCG.
Yeah.
And it was like a longer one. It was like, I remember you saying, like, I think it was like the longest PCG I had ever made.
Whoa.
I think it was like, it was a lot. It was like a stack of paper.
Wow.
And you were like, what? You know, you didn't finish it in one sitting. Like, it was a big one.
Yeah.
When I said omnibus on the cover,
omnibus?
For some reason, yeah, like I was like trying to say that it was like this was like the big edition, like this was the, like I would just put like fake release stuff on it, you know, like I put my own seal of quality on it, you know, like.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Like I remember like there's a big stack of paper, and I remember like some of the covers, or like at least one of the covers had like special stuff on it.
Yeah, I put like I think, now don't quote me on this number, but like for some reason my brain is saying 70 screens.
Wow.
Something like that.
That would be a lot. That's like even I mean, not quite, but it is sort of giving Balzac Globotron a run for its money.
Yeah, no, well, no, nothing touches that one in terms of raw screen count.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that, but like, I kind of feel like you were really impatient because there might have been like a week or two where I didn't have the game ready for you to play. And like we just didn't play it, and then like you were just like really angsty about it. And then finally, you know, we're able to play it. But I don't know. Time was kind of elastic then, so it was probably, I don't know, maybe it was 1 week that it wasn't ready or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because like we used to see each other, like I remember it was every Tuesday and every Thursday, and Tuesdays you would come to my house, Thursdays I would go to your house. So
Right.
In theory, I would have had to wait till next Thursday because, I mean, I guess sometimes we played PCGs at my house, but like 90% of the time I feel like it was at your house.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that was that I would frantically make one before you came.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I would like work on it all week necessarily. I would just like, yeah, or maybe I would like sometimes like I would do it like kind of, but I think like the fact that you were coming over, I would like as it got closer, that would remind me that you were coming over, and then like, oh yeah, and then like get me excited about something else, and then I would make so it would be like a kind of a natural progression that's what when I would make it, not like really plan. Like if it was like a few days back, like I wouldn't be thinking about that as much, so I wouldn't make the game. Yeah. But I think the JFK thing was like, I remember I put like Broadway style lights around the edge of the title screen.
Wait, was that anniversary issue number 76?
Anniversary issue. I can't imagine why. I doubt that it was actually on an anniversary. If it was an anniversary,
no, but like you called it that though.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I called it Anniversary Edition 76.
Yeah.
Omnibus.
Because I remember the lights around the edges, for sure.
Yeah, I just like threw all these different like, this is the big one stamps on it, basically, like just anything that I thought of.
Oh my
They're
God,
all like mixed metaphors.
So that was the plot of that one, was the JFK thing.
Yeah, it was to protect the president, save the president from
like I thought the story of that was like just completely lost. Like there's an article on that game in the PCG wiki. It just says like nothing is known about it.
No, I think it's that one. Yeah, because that would have been like the really big one, and like I think, I was trying to make the best PCG ever.
Yeah. And you succeeded. I remember that being awesome.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good, that one. But then, like, I think the one after that, like, probably had, like, some crab in it or something. I couldn't, like, follow it up.
Dude.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But do you actually remember this? I can't remember. But, like, do you remember when the fat guy entered the picture?
No. I remember playing the first time I met the fat guy. I don't remember when that was in relation to the rest of the series or what game it was in. I just remember like being confronted with the fat guy and like, being like, whoa, what, like, what is this guy? And like, he was like, oh, well, I'll just wait here for weeks and cut off your food source so you'll have to lose weight. And then you're like, ha ha ha, the company beams food into my stomach.
Yeah. I think the first fat guy puzzle wasn't to make him lose weight. I think it became a trope of PCGs that you would finally have to find different ways to make him lose weight over the time, and that's how you would get past him. But at first, it was supposed to be something else. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
But like you were on about trying to make him lose weight, and then I think eventually it became like in my mind, the classic puzzle that like kind of set the trope was that you find a can of Slim Fast and you give it to him, and then that makes him slim like in 3 seconds. Like it's like the most rapid weight loss ever experienced.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I've tried to go over my memory on that a whole bunch of times. Like there have even been times when I was like, could it have started with Series 2? Because I mean, I know he is in one of those Series 2 games, but no, there's no way. I'm very sure. No, definitely, because I remember playing that game in your old room, like your room upstairs, the one with the wood floor facing the backyard.
Oh wow, that's very specific. I don't remember that part, but I do remember I feel like I was just trying to make like a different type of obstacle, and it's just like, yeah, he's blocking the door.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a classic. The fact that like it's been so repeated by like everyone who's made PCGs ever since. Like,
yeah, it's very specific too. Like, it's not like Zoovac, who is like very like kind of in his own weird way, like distinguished. Like, it's like he's got like, I mean, he's got a look that jumps off the page. You know, whatever else you think. I mean, it's like very simplistic design, but it's like a clown on a stick. Like that doesn't come around just any day. But like, yeah, Zoovac. But like then. The fat guy, it's like he's a fat guy. Like, that's not really.
Yeah.
That's not like very distinct. It's just that it's become a thing.
Yeah. That's true. But well, I guess using a fat guy to block a character's way, like, I can't really think of many times in other media that anything like that has happened. At least not. Maybe it might have been cartoons. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's kind of based on sumo wrestlers. But actually, two random things about both Zoovac and the fat guy that I'm not sure you know about.
Oh.
But Zoovac, you came up with the name of.
Really?
Yes.
I did. How?
Because the next time we got together after the first time, I thought like Zoovac was done, and you're like, hey, what about that clown on a stick? And I was like, oh yeah. And I think I don't think I was that dismissive. I thought I was like, oh yeah, no, that's a cool character a little bit. I was thinking about it, but then like you're like, yeah, but wait, what's his name though? And I was like, oh no, and I couldn't remember. It was like some other name that was maybe somewhat similar to that or something, and you're like, it's Zoovac, and I couldn't remember what the name was. And I was like racking my brains, and it was definitely not Zoovac. It was some other name.
Oh shoot.
I can't, but like for the life of me, I couldn't remember what it was, and in my head it was like, oh, the original name was way better. But I was like, all right, you know what? Yeah, Zoovac, do that. And then, but you said Zoovac, so I just like said, yeah, it was that.
But you were lying. You knew it wasn't that.
What's that?
But you were lying. You knew it wasn't that.
Yeah, or like, yeah, sorry. Lori sends you a message, Zach.
Uh-oh.
I'll send it to you in emoji.
Oh. Tell Lori I said hello as well.
Zach says hello as well. She says hat. She's been playing Sega a bunch.
Nice.
So, no, what was I saying? Yeah, so I knew it was, but like, I feel like it was... I don't know that I necessarily lied. In my mind, it was one of those things where it's like, no, like you said Zoovac, and then I was like, no, it wasn't Zoovac. It was, and then you're like, no, I'm pretty sure it's Zoovac. I'm like, no, it was something else. It was, or I don't even know if you were that certain, because you kind of iterated on that name a few times where like, was it Zoolad, Zoovar, something like that. And you were like, you kind of came up with it, and I thought like Zoovac is like the closest, or it sounds the best. I was like, oh no, it's something else. It was something else. And then you're like, are you sure? Like, you can't remember. And then finally I was like, yeah, I guess, maybe it was Zoovac. Yeah, let's say it was Zoovac. Or something like that. Because like, I just could not remember it.
It still could have actually been Zoovac.
It could have been, but in my little kid mind, I was 100% certain it was not. I was like, there was no way it was that. Although it could have also been that like it wasn't Zoovac, and it was something else. But like my certainty that it was better than Zoovac as a name was false. Like that, it was just not.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like some dude. I don't know.
It's hard to imagine anything better than Zoovac.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of sounds like some strange vacuum thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's just kind of like a nonsense thing.
It's also like Univac.
It's what?
It's also like Univac. Like one of the early computers was called that.
Oh yeah, well Univac. Well, and it's because of vacuum tubing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like an HVAC, shop vac.
Yeah.
My dad had a shop vac, so I've been thinking about that. But you definitely came up with the name Zoovac. I might have had like vac in it or zoo in it, maybe. I have no idea what it was, and I'm sure it wasn't Zoovac, at least.
Now that you're talking about this, like, I feel like I remember this day that you're talking about. Like, I don't know if it's a false memory created by you talking about it, but I remember it being at my house, in my room, that we were having this conversation, and like, I don't know. Because, like, now I feel like I'm mixing things up, because I remember there were conversations where I kept bringing him up, like, hey, what about that clown dude? And like, are you going to bring him back? And I firmly believed you never would. I had no like expectation that you would, because you never cared about continuity or characters that came before, and you never cared about what I wanted to see either.
That's true. It was really hostile. Everything was very, very hostile. But yeah, I think it's another interesting tension. I think that's actually a tension of game design and actually all creative medium.
Yeah.
But it's like very much like embedded very closely with paper computer games, because it's generally like a two-person thing, which is like, what do you give the audience that they want, and what do you stay true to what you're trying to do? Because like if you just basically give the people what they want, that's not actually what people want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because then there's nothing new. You've made the game.
Yeah.
You know? You've done the experience. There's nothing surprising or challenging there. But if you are just like a completely hostile dick, like then, you know, that's the other side of it, you know. Yeah, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. That is very true. And I feel like that like, you know, you're sort of making fun of yourself for being hostile back then, but come to think of it, you still are that way a little bit. Like, that's true. Like, I mean, every time you're like, I'm gonna make a new PCG, like, you know in your head, like, what that, like, the way you could please me, like, the most would be, like, to make something with, like, a lot of continuity, like reveal new things about old characters. You're like, I'm gonna do a completely new thing, like, I don't care about anything that happened before, and I'm gonna put a nod into it, but only to taunt you. That is the only justification.
Yeah, first of all, fair. But I think two things. One, I've refined my hostility.
Oh, that is true.
But two, I think part of it is that, like, I don't do things solely to be a dick all the time.
Yeah.
At least, is that not to harass you. Sometimes I just legitimately don't. Well, first of all, I just don't care about continuity. I think it's like really hard for me to care about it. I make history, and the historians have to just clean up after me. They're writing the history books, by which I mean you bastard.
Hey.
No, but like, I think, yeah, I think I always lead with whatever idea I have, which is like some spark of inspiration, and so like, and that won't have any bearing on anything else. Like, I generally don't like if I'm truly being creative, like or like coming up with something, like I'm not like to then backfill in a continuity would feel like an anchor, like a lead balloon on it, you know. Like I want it to like be able to have the freedom to be whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just kind of like, I don't know how I kind of approach it, but
you still do bring back some characters though. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like Farzikan coming back in, or not. I guess it wasn't even him. It was his grandson coming back in Space Cells.
Yeah, I think for sure. And I think, you know, recently I've been like kind of doing different things and trying to experiment with stuff. But like there is like fun also to be had in bringing back characters. And also Farzikan is I think part of that is like he's like a really fun. He's like he's basically the dark Zoovac.
Really?
In a sense, right? Like they both have a ton of energy, and one's trying to help you and one hates your guts.
That's true. Huh.
Like they both have like a similar kind of, you know?
Oh, I never thought of it that way. Huh. What an interesting connection.
But yeah, I don't know. Like what's kind of interesting, just now thinking about it, is like I haven't made a game in a long time that has used any of the kind of quote unquote classic characters I've created.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's
like
true.
Zoovac, the fat guy, the rich kid. You know, I don't know. Maybe. I'm sorry.
The farmer.
Oh yeah, the farmer. Yeah, the farmer. Yeah, the guy who doesn't even have a name. He's just defined by his job.
All right. Maybe that'll be like your last contribution to him when you bring him back. Give him a name finally.
Yeah, that's right. Then he's done. And I don't know. I think actually of like character, because I think what I've found now, you know, that I really enjoy about paper computer games, or one of the things I really enjoy about it is how obviously quick they are to make, and how you can kind of iterate and actualize an idea very fast.
Yeah.
Relatively to any other type of game development is like, you know, the most long, tedious, labor-intensive thing ever. And how it can be so character driven. I think that's what I really gravitate to at this point. Like how I think that's what I was like kind of playing with Space Cells. You know, and also like Ghosts, like that's like something that I kind of really like doing, is creating memorable, or hopefully memorable characters. Something that you can grab onto as like, oh, this is distinct from the last character, and the last character, even in the game itself, you know, maybe they won't all be like, you know, the really great, like kind of remember, but at least like they'll be like distinct within the game, and that you can kind of identify them clearly. Like they have like, it's almost like neon on the different characters. Like, oh, that's not just wallpaper. Like that's, you know, X, and that's Y, you know?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think your characters are super memorable, especially like in recent games, like all of the cast of Ghosts is amazing. Like you know, Paula still, you know, messages me, you know, like when are we going to get that Aunt Mildred sequel spin-off? Like,
yeah, the Aunt Mildred sequel. That would be an interesting thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Right. So there were like a couple different potentially interesting characters in that, like that. But they kind of all work as a piece. It's a little bit like Batman. Like if you branch them out too much, that's kind of why I brought Farzikan in a little bit. But like, I feel like the characters in Ghosts are a little bit like they kind of live in that space. Like if you're not doing another Ghost style game, you know, it's it's not that they wouldn't work, you know? Like, maybe you could put Musafint anywhere. But, like, the part of the reason why I think Musafint is interesting, at least why he's interesting to me, is the relationship between Musafint and why am I forgetting the ghost's main character?
Fog Whistle.
Fog Whistle, yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, without that, he's just a dead moose with a funny voice. But, like...
yeah, like a weird... I mean, like, I guess the detail that he was, like, the last of, like, this incredibly rare species is still there. But, like, really what I think makes those gears turn is that, you know, Fog Whistle killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, he's both sort of a reproach of you, like, sort of builds your character a little bit, and, like, you have a built-in relationship with him as a result of it. Like,
right.
Well, like, I mean, different players might react differently, but all of them, like, there's a relationship there, you know? It's just like, whoa, I killed you, you know? Like,
yeah.
And it was because of, like, that's just how much of a shitty guy I am, you know?
Yeah, that was kind of fun to imbue you with being a jerk. Yeah. Because generally Zach is like a very like kind of paladin-like character. So like, you know, you
generic
make like
hero.
Just like building into the game that you're like this real dirtbag.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Like murderer too.
Yeah, multiple homicide.
Seriously.
One quick tidbit about Ghost that I don't know if I revealed was that originally I was gonna run it several times. That was gonna be like the first paper computer game I was gonna do. I was gonna like try to improve it over time and like run it several times. And I was going to change the main character's name based on the gender of the person who was playing it. Whoa. So if a woman was playing it, it would be Lydiella Echemachoke.
Lydiella Echemachoke. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
But I never actually did that because like Ghosts became like this insane improv riff that like I could not replicate. Or it would be something different, and then I just kind of associated that game with that playthrough. I think that's kind of why I don't necessarily repeat them. It almost feels like that first playthrough with that person is like breathing life into it, and then after that, it's like if I played it again, like and did it again, it would be like trying to resurrect that thing.
Yeah.
Or like it would be it wouldn't be quite the same, you know, because it's so like specific.
It doesn't feel right. I know what you mean. Like there's like it's like you can never just like recapture. Yeah, it's like trying to recapture a moment, you know, without the magic to actually time travel. You're just like, hey, let's like all go sit in the same places where we were sitting then and like try and recreate that fun time we had, you know?
Well, right, and I think that's the trap, is that it's like your brain tries to recreate when really, if you try to recreate it, it won't be good. Yeah. Because like what made it special in the first place was that you weren't trying to replicate anything. You were just having the experience itself, and you were being in that moment. So once you've played it once, you already have a preconceived notion of what has happened, and that's not to say that that can't be overcome or whatnot. Yeah. It just takes effort and conscious thought and being present in the fact that like, okay, that playthrough of the game happened over here. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with this playthrough that I'm having right now.
Yeah.
Which, for continuity's sake, is a disaster. That's the one nod I'll give you there. But
yeah, like I think like Kurt one time like tried to play his same PCG Spaceballs with another player after I beat it, and like the other player just made totally different choices from me. So Kurt just was like, okay, I'm gonna start making new screens to like follow this separate direction that he went down, you know?
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you do something completely unexpected, right?
Yeah. In fact, like, I think actually, like, the way I beat the game was not the way you were supposed to. Like, I did stuff the wrong way, and then as I played through the game, he made more screens based on what I had done. So, like...
Well, that's... Yeah, I applaud Kurt. He's always been, like, a hard worker in that regard. I've never... I don't know, like, I would always... I think I've never... For whatever reason, I've never had that strategy, although maybe I should. But I've always been like either of two minds. Like either early on I was just a confrontational person, and I would just like not allow you to do things that weren't in my plan.
Yeah.
At least in terms of like direction of narrative, in terms of like if it were to logically take you to a screen that I hadn't drawn,
yeah,
I just couldn't do it. But yeah, I think now it's like, and I think maybe it's something to kind of revisit in my own mind of like how to kind of think about this moving forward. But like, you know, with Ghost and even more with Space Cells and like things like the screens themselves are just like kind of window dressing.
Yeah.
You know? They like, and it just allows you to verbally riff a lot more to kind of establish the universe and what's happening in it. And to like, you know, and if it goes in a direction I didn't anticipate, there's just no screen, and then you just talk through it, which, you know, is fine. It is just like different where, you know, there's, you know, and especially like, maybe you could tell me how this feels like, but like with Space Cells, there's literally like there's no kind of normal game trappings. There's nothing about, like, you could do it without visuals.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, totally. The
It's
visuals help
possible.
for sure, but like, I mean, yeah, like they aren't as necessary at all.
No, they're completely like from a game perspective, they're irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's just they provide flavor, and like here is the character that you're talking to, and it kind of hopefully imbibes like a certain personality, or like helps that conception of the character.
yeah. And for Space Cells, I thought that worked fantastic. Like it was really engaging. Like the pictures still like help engage my imagination and make it more like feel more fun and like more like you're there. But yeah, you're right. Like in terms of a game perspective, they don't matter. In Ghosts, they didn't matter as much, but I felt like they still mattered because like it's like, even though like especially later in the game, it was just a lot of like you know, we could have just put down the screens and just talked and it would have been fine. But you know, early on, like it's like, hey, you know, it's exploring the environment. It's like, hey, what's in that closet? Let me look under the rug, or let me look under this table, you know. And the more you learn about the world, the more it sort of transitions into, you know, talking to characters and like doing things that you already know where they're going to take place and how you're going to do them, you know.
Right.
I remember there was that... Sorry?
I never bothered to draw more screens or modify the existing screens with new information. It was just
except for that shed.
Yeah, I drew the shed. Yeah, that's true.
It was the one traditional puzzle in the game.
Yeah.
Like you're trapped in a place and you gotta use the tools to it's like, whoa, flashback.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. Yeah.
But yeah, like, so, going back to like the original PCG for a second, like it's interesting that, you know, even though like at that time you never had an intention to create a universe out of that, you never thought of it as a story, you were just like, hey, here's a game, here's a few set pieces or whatever. Like somehow, like you kept building onto it, or like I guess the combination of us did. Like you made more adventures that continued from there, and I asked questions about how they connected to each other, and then I made a wiki, and it turned into a whole universe. And even today, like all those stories that you know, like all the whole PCG universe starts there. The seeds of it are in that weird zany game, like
yeah, I guess, right, like all the conventions I guess are there, huh? Is that what you're saying? Like that, like, you know?
No, I mean just that, like I guess some of the conventions are there. I mean, like my thought was like, it's weird that they started from something so that like they started from such an innocuous, not innocuous, or I don't know.
Kind
like,
of unlikely.
How can this seed have blossomed into this tree? You know, like how can all this whole universe of stories have started with this? You know, kind of like I don't know. It's interesting that all these years later, continuations of that game are still being made by me and by you, I guess, and by other people. Like it's insane.
Right, like they're all playing in the same world is what you're saying. Right, like like because I think there is like a natural human tendency to build upon the past, like, and to try to kind of contextualize it all within the same narrative. And yeah, that was definitely mostly your doing in a sense. Like, I mean, I obviously I had like the part 1 goes into part 2, you know, goes into the sewers, and like I always wanted the story to kind of continue on like that, like, and you pick it up, and like whatever genre happened to happen in my head, like you would just be in that genre, but like assumed that like the previous day you were in this other genre doing this other thing, you know, and it's just a chronological march. But like, yeah, you asking questions and like filling things out and like trying to explore deeper, and obviously mapping it, doing the wiki and whatnot. Yeah, it's like a rich set of world, and I think it's rich because of how much time has happened, like how many different people have participated at different points in their lives.
Yeah,
you know, and just like made. And like, because I think what's interesting about it, and it is kind of like a dreamlike quality that's kind of unique to PCGs, is that it is like kind of at the surface, you know, like it's a little id-ish, like a little dreamish.
Yeah. Like
because of how quick they are to make, at least how quickly I make them. I know you've taken a long time on well, I've taken a long time, but like mostly because I haven't worked on them. But you know, it's like they're quick to make and they go by quickly. That it's like it, you know, if you're actually doing them, it's like you're not like agonizing as much about like, you know, the particulars. They're a little bit more disposable in that sense, so that it's just like a little bit more of just like what's in your head. And the fact that you also have to draw something, I think engages a little bit more of a primal part of your brain that like just it's just like that just a little bit of that dream layer that's coming through. So you're just kind of seeing these different group of people kind of collectively dreaming in like a very kind of specific way.
That's a really good point. And it's like letting somebody explore your dreams, and then you learn more about them through that.
Right. Yeah. It is like exploring a dream. Like it's right. It's like kind of an interactive dream a little bit. Yeah. Right. Like here's a world, and you can kind of play around with it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like if it was a computer game, like if you were inspired by a dream and you made it into a computer game, like the interaction isn't that direct. Like, they're not interacting directly with your brain, you know? Like, whereas with a paper computer game, I can ask questions of your mind, you know, in the same way that in a real dream you would walk around the corner and discover something new, you know? Like,
a PCG empowers the player with a lot more querying potential. Because, like, in a regular computer game, it can only respond in a preset way, only the ways the programmer thought of. Mm-hmm. But in a PCG, you know, the player can come up with anything, and the response is limited only by the creativity of the person running the game.
Yeah, totally. Oh, man, this is hyping me up about PCGs. I want to.
What? Let me ask you a real question though. Yeah. Like, when are you not hyped up about PCGs? Let me ask you that. Like, when are you like cool about PCGs? When are you like, you know, just leveled out about PCGs?
Oh, never. It's a distinction between like hyped and like mega hyped, you know, and we're still at the low end here.
Yeah. But like, let me ask you this, because like, I think none of this would have happened without you, in the sense that like, I made these games and I would have forced you to keep playing them as long as I had an interest. But if you hadn't been like so insanely obsessed with them, I wouldn't have made many more. Like when I was a kid, I probably would have forced you to play like 3.
Yeah.
That's about it, you know?
Yeah.
So like that, like obsession. So like, what drives your interest? Like, what is it? Is it the fact that they're games in the sense? Is it the fact that the world keeps getting expanded? Like, is there certain things that you can point to that really hook you in? And I'm specifically looking for things about PCGs that are unique to PCGs that make you uniquely excited about it, not things that it shares with other media.
Right. So I think like the short answer is that they're just like really what's the word I'm looking for? You know how like Luke Skywalker, like you can identify with him, like he's an everyman, so he's approachable, something like that.
Right.
If that's the word I'm like. It's really engaging, like sort of like the feeling of being, you know, deep in a really good novel, like. And
like, the immersion, you're saying, like getting that.
Yeah, like how immersive it is, but combined with how interactive it is, like that like that unique combination. It's like if you were to take like a really good novel that you're like really invested in, like that level of that level of good feeling of like reading that novel, combined with the ability to query it, to explore it, to ask questions about it, to learn about it. That was always, you know, what and like the stories too, like just granted, like a lot of the story, like especially from the beginning, like you know, there wasn't one, but you know, I don't know, I guess there was just enough like sort of mystery and just enough sort of like wondering, like, you know, what's going on with this world, you know, like what's around the corner, you know, like always like going places and finding out clues. And it didn't matter that you weren't actually piecing together some larger puzzle. It's just like, I mean, I guess later on you did start to sort of develop a little bit of a mythology, you know, introducing the company and Zoovac and all that. But like, even so, like, you know, it still was mostly just like, here's an adventure, you know, but like the fact that, you know, you're playing this interactive game and like the game is running on your imagination, you know, that's really what it is. Like, it's the fact that like by playing this game, you are sort of like creating this universe, you know, like, or creating it, or like, and the fact that, you know, the act of playing it makes you engaged in the story, you know what I mean? The fact that it's so interactive engages you and puts your imagination into it as if you were really there, or as if you're dreaming, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Well, it's co-authored.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. You know, like, you create the initial thing, and then I explore it, and then by exploring it, you have to create more stuff on the fly, which you know, it's sort of a feedback loop. Right,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Real quick before I forget, that's a really interesting answer. I appreciate it. I did write a short weirdo essay about paper computer games for college.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago. Actually, it wasn't about paper computer games. It was just like, it was trying to use, like, show like a story of that mapped the hero's journey and I used paper computer game.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Characters for it. I might still have it if you want to post it on the wiki.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can, send that to me. Like, I remember you telling me that you'd written that, and then I never got to read it, and I was very frustrated.
That sounds like me, man.
It does.
Yeah, I'll try to find that. I generally save everything that I've written, so.
Awesome, dude.
I think. Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right here.
Oh, sweet.
It has the spring 08.
Yo, send it to me right now before you forget. I don't trust you.
It's in an old .doc format, which I can't open.
I don't care. I'll find a way.
I don't know if it. Yep, here it is. This is it. It's a .doc.
Wow. Yeah. You should send that shit.
I did.
Oh, sweet. On Discord?
Yeah.
Call to adventure.doc. Yes.
Read this in years.
Oh yeah, my PC has opened it successfully. Oh my god, I can't wait to read this. I'm probably gonna like, you know, I don't want to like miss the experience of reading it. I want to like do a live stream reading it or something.
Well, I guess we're recording it right now. We could do a reading of it in that regard, but like, do you think it's worth a live stream?
Let's see, how long is it?
It's like 3 pages, I think.
3 pages?
2 pages?
Maybe not. I don't know. Well, it couldn't hurt. I don't know. Would you rather do it right now? We definitely can.
Yeah, we could do it right now if you want.
Okay. Let me set the camera to look at that, and I will make your face a little bit smaller.
All right. Who's reading it? Am I reading it? Or are you reading it?
I don't know.
I feel like you should read it.
Okay. All right.
Because I wrote it, so you should read it.
That makes sense. Okay, let me see. Where is my that's the problem. Okay. So here we go. Oh man, this is it. This is the thing. You ready?
I'm ready. Should I introduce it?
Sure, if you want, go for it.
All right, so what we have here is a short essay I wrote for a college class I took my senior year, which was called Words with a Z. I don't know why it was called that. But anyway, it was like kind of an English lit combined with like kind of Jungian, I don't know, tropes and archetypes type of class. And we like watch movies, and it was like a 2-credit course or whatever. So I had to like prove that I knew how the hero's journey went, which is like the Joseph Campbell like kind of thing that pretty much every movie is based on, like Star Wars and anything. But like the kind of beats of the story, the narrative there. Joseph Campbell is like a historian archaeologist who kind of developed that theory about like how all these myths unify in that story, that hero's journey. So I wrote the hero's journey with each beat of the hero's journey, like kind of in a heading. But I used as the props for the hero's journey paper computer games, and I used Zach as the main character, and kind of, I guess you'll see some of the characters along the way. And so yeah, Zach, why don't you take it away with a dramatic reading?
All right, let's do it.